street chasing wrong from right. Eyes like fire burning through the haze. Truth is a weapon, cuts through the maze. Some call her trouble, some call her brave. Digging up secrets they tried to save. A real deal around town. She's breaking it down, spinning the wheel, exposing the sound. They despise her, they praise her, but she won't slow down. Real deal around town. The truth's her cry. They curse her name, afraid of the spotlight she brings to the game. But the grateful ones, they cheer in the dark for the spark she ignites in their weary hearts. Some call her danger, some call her hope. She's the thin line on the tightrope. The sound. They despise her, they praise her, but she won't slow down. Real deal around town. The truth's her crown, yeah. The sound. They despise her, they praise her, but she won't slow down. Real deal around town. The truth's her crown, yeah. The truth's her crown, yeah.
Well, good morning, everybody. We're back. Real Deal is back, and we're doing something a little bit different this morning. I usually do a lot of stuff regarding local politics and meetings and whatnot, and corruption in towns and alone. But we're going to step outside my usual box, and we're going to talk about something that's very, very current in the Massachusetts news. I think it's probably nationwide because it involves the Massachusetts State Police, who just can't seem to stay out of the news with lots of concerns. Lots of troopers have gone to jail in the last couple of years, and we might have we could have up to 4 more. At least one of them might be. So we're going to talk about the case involving Enrique Delgado Garcia, who was a state police trainee, a recruit at the State Police Academy back in September of 2024. And he was killed while this was near the end of his training. They have some bizarre boxing exercise that they were going through, and he was killed. And some of you might not have followed that whole story. Some of you are probably following it intently. And if you are, I don't have any breaking news here. I'm going to go over everything that's come out in the last week, or the last few days. Almost a week, not quite. But, yeah, I'm not going to go over medical details, but after his autopsy, And it was pretty clear that it was much more than a simple accident. He fell and hit his head, or he tripped, or he had a medical, it was not a simple, he had a medical condition that was underlying and nobody knew about it, and he had a heart attack while going through this, which happens even in professional sports. That happens. College sports, high school sports, unfortunately. I mean, things happen. Accidents, unforeseen, unfortunate accidents occur. But his death was pretty extreme. The injuries were clearly not just one punch that hit wrong. No, I'm not going to go over the details. I've said enough. But yeah. I just want to keep repeating that it's pretty frightening. And back when this first happened, there was a lot of defensive maneuvers by the state police, of course, as there usually is. Unfortunately for the state police, the road is already paved for them in public opinion. They've had so many corruption cases, severe corruption cases, where some of them have gone to prison because of it. So it's really hard for the general public to trust them at all. And I'm sure public opinion went straight to who killed him. And this was murder. That's public. There's no way that could be avoided, especially with the history of the Massachusetts State Police. And when everything was starting to roll, if you have a death in your front yard, I shouldn't say that. Bring up Karen Reed trial, because Karen Reed trial is going to come into this, believe it or not. But when we, well, kind of, a little bit. But if you had a death in your town, at the high school of this nature, it would not take 1.5 years for the investigation. It would be done pretty quickly. There'd be somebody in handcuffs quick and suspended from their jobs. And can you imagine if let's put it in your high school. No, please. Or a college, or even the military. It wouldn't happen this way. It would not take 1.5 years. I'm gonna go to the side here a little bit and say, I spent 23 years in the military. I went to basic training. This was real military training I attended. Accidents do happen in basic training. They're rare, and believe me, they are investigated, and people are held accountable immediately. And accidents of this accident that happened at the State Police Academy would not happen in a real military training. They claim, it's police academy, it's paramilitary training, we've got to be just like soldiers. And it's like, no, that's not just like soldiers. Soldiers don't train like that. Soldiers actually train professionally, and it's in safe manners, knowing that combat isn't safe, knowing that situations are much more dangerous. But you train for them. You don't have to kill a couple of soldiers just to get the training to be realistic. That's not what happens. And police shouldn't be training to that extreme either, in my opinion. And this level, when they talk about the hazing and the abuse and the dropout rate at the academy is just extreme. Probably a couple of the other academies, not just the State Police Academy. It's pretty extreme. I think it's too much, that they need to be more professional about their training. And I know, who am I? I'm a member of the public who's looking at this. So anyway, when the investigation started, first the DA for the area where this occurred, which is the Worcester County District Attorney, I forgot his name, he declined to take the case because Enrique Delgado Garcia worked in the DA's office. I don't recall what his job was, but he worked for the DA directly, and he was well liked, and he wanted to be a state trooper, so he went applied and he got in. So the DA did not want to have anything to do with the investigation due to a conflict of interest. He needed to completely have somebody independent review the case. And they also felt, I believe it was in consultation with the Attorney General, that they didn't really want another DA to take it over either, because similar conflicts the appearance of conflict could be there, which is just as important when you're talking about ethics. So the Attorney General took it on herself to investigate this event. And, this just went on and on. The family it appeared, and the family was concerned. Their English was not well, and their ability to get information was very limited. And it appeared to the public, at least, that they weren't treated like a member of this team. Nobody gave a hoot. So the Attorney General hired an independent investigator. Now, going through this, when we go through these kind of things, nobody trusted this. I can't say nobody, but as a member of the general public, looking at this moving along at a snail's pace, when the state was going through all this corruption cases with the state police, and then you got what happened with the Karen Reed case, which was very actively still happening really in 2024. And who's going to trust this? It was really impossible. And just to assume that this is just going to get kicked under the rug, because we were starting to hear the rumblings, he's got all these sickle cell syndrome or something. It's like, that caused his head to, I'm not going to say anything about his injuries, but that didn't cause his injuries. It just didn't cause his injuries. He never should have had the injuries that he had. But that was what we were getting from the state police. And it's like, are you serious? You're not talking to people who are going to fall for this crap anymore. But that's what we heard for months after his death. And the Attorney General had hired an independent investigator, which we're going to hear about. And we came to the results of this on February 6th. I believe it was February 6th that the Attorney General put out a press release, and everything was made public. And that's what I'm going to go over with you today. We're going to start with the Attorney General's press release, and then I'm going to go into the indictments of 4 troopers. Then I'm going to we're going to go through the post-commission suspension orders for the troopers. And I'm going to have the press release from the State Police Association. Is there anything else in there? I think that's enough. But I'm going to bring everything together. We've heard a lot about this through the press, with I'll call the mainstream press. I'm going to really, I think I'm going to give credit to Howie Carr and the Boston Herald for bringing a lot of the stuff together, and they also brought some additional information, which I'm going to touch upon. I briefly mentioned earlier where Karen Reed trial comes into this, which not directly. I mean, it's not. But some things about one of the troopers who's facing the worst of this. Yeah. Anyway. So let me bring up my... Okay, before presenting... Oh, okay. How's that? There it is. Okay, I have to leave this screen. I have to go... I can't... Where did it go? I know it. I know. I see it. It's just I can't. I just want to make sure that it's actually moving. It is moving. Yay! Okay, I'm going to bring it back to the bottom. Okay, Attorney General Campbell, I gotta try to see if I can. I need to be able. Make sure that we're both seeing the same thing. I hate it when I mess that up, which I sometimes do. I think that you're seeing it moving on the screen and it's not. Okay. Attorney General Campbell, Attorney David Mayer, I'm going to say it Mayer, I hope that's right. He was the independent investigator. Announced conclusion of the independent investigation into State Trooper Enrique Delgado Garcia's death. Indictments returned. Massachusetts Attorney General Andrea Joy Campbell and Attorney David Mayer today announced that the independent investigation into the death, this was just on the 9th. This was just a few days ago. I thought it was the 6th. Something happened on the 6th. I'm sure of it. Anyway, the independent investigation concluded. This is Attorney General Campbell's following statement. Trooper Enrique Delgado Garcia should be alive today, fulfilling his dream of serving as a Massachusetts state trooper. I first thank his family and the public for their tremendous patience. I am grateful for Attorney David Mayer's diligent and extensive efforts to follow the facts and seek accountability for those responsible for Enrique's death. State police trainees selflessly commit themselves to public service, and those responsible for training them have a duty to protect them from preventable harm. In no way is this investigation and the charges it has yielded a condemnation of all law enforcement. We can both honor the men and women who serve and protect our communities, often in difficult and dangerous circumstances, while also ensuring accountability within the system, especially when someone dies. At today's press conference, Attorney David Mayer, who was appointed by Attorney General Campbell as an independent investigator and had full autonomy and authority to make charging decisions, announced that a Middlesex County grand jury, so they went to Middlesex County to do this, has returned the following indictments against 4 state police officials. Sergeant Jennifer Penton. This is the most interesting. Sergeant Penton was charged with involuntary manslaughter, causing serious bodily injury to a person participating in a training program involving physical exercise, and perjury. We'll hear about that. Trooper Edwin Rodriguez, involuntary manslaughter causing serious bodily injury to a person participating in training. Okay, and Trooper David Montanez and Trooper Casey Lamont, those 3 were all charged with the same thing. They were not charged with perjury. They apparently told the truth throughout this investigation. So this is disturbing that the sergeant was charged with perjury in this matter. So we'll hear about why she was charged as this presentation goes. I'm gonna put that. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Oh man. You'd think I could get this right. I just want to see something on the screen. Okay. All right. So, on September 13th, 2024, Trooper Delgado Garcia died as a result of injuries he sustained while training to become an MSP trooper. Death investigations are typically handled by the local DA's office. But in this case, Worcester County DA Joseph Early appropriately determined that his office had a conflict of interest, as Trooper Delgado Garcia formerly worked in that office as a victim witness advocate. Shortly after Trooper Delgado Garcia's death, and at the request of the DA Early, A.G. Campbell appointed an independent investigator and Attorney Mayer to review the facts surrounding Trooper Delgado Garcia's death. These charges are allegations, and all defendants are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. These are the indictments. Sergeant Penton's will be a little bit different than the others. I'm only going to read one. I'm going to read Sergeant Penton's, and then I'm only going to read one of the other officers because the other two are the same, or the other three are the same. At the Superior Court, begun and held in the city of Woburn, within and for the county of Middlesex. Blah. Okay. On Thursday, Sergeant Jennifer Penton, on Thursday, September 12th, 2024, during the 90th Recruit Training Troop of the Massachusetts State Police Training Academy at New Braintree in the county of Worcester, did commit involuntary manslaughter, to wit, by affirmative acts as a result of her actions as the supervisor of the Defensive Tactics Unit for the 90th Recruit Training Troop on and or before Thursday, September 12th, 2024, and or by failing to act when she had the duty to act as a result of her omissions, failure to act as a supervisor of the Defensive Tactics Unit of the 90th Recruit Training Troop on or before Thursday, 12th. Okay. Against the peace of the said Commonwealth, contrary to the form of the statute, such case made and provided a true bill. That's what an indictment looks like. But we're still going. There's an indictment for each charge, apparently. You can tell I've never done these before. All right. On or before September 12th, during the 90th Recruit Training Troop at the MSP Training Academy, while having direct management or direct control over the conduct of physical exercise as part of a course of study or training program at any public or private institution, agency, or entity, to wit, as the supervisor of the Defense Tactics Unit, having direct management and control over the Defense Training Unit, did willfully, wantonly, and recklessly cause serious bodily injury to Enrique Delgado Garcia, a trainee participating in the 90th Recruit Training. Okay. Willfully, wantonly, and recklessly cause serious bodily injury to Enrique Delgado Garcia. Then we're going to get to... Oh, they didn't? Wait a minute. Interesting. There is a charge of perjury. I don't know where it went. But she was... it's my understanding... it's here somewhere. But she lied during the grand jury testimony. I don't know where... Maybe it's... I don't know where that indictment went. Anyway, so Trooper Edwin Rodriguez... His indictment is for failing to act when he had the duty to act. The result of his omission is failure to act as a member of the Defense Tactics Unit. That's all four of them are charged with the same basic charges. And this one, the same as Jennifer's. So all of them have the same charges. David Montanez. Exactly. The only difference, Jennifer Penton has a perjury charge. Of course, I think I know this. The perjury was charged after because the grand jury can't know that she perjured herself until later, I guess. I don't know how that came in, but there is a perjury charge. She is charged with perjury for lying to the grand jury. So anyway, this is the peace officers. We're going to start with, we'll start with Casey Lamont. This is the order that I have them in. This is the post-commission suspended all of these troopers, and the commission received sufficient evidence that the respondent has been, I don't know, thus requiring the immediate suspension. It's probably indicted, it probably gives the information about the indictment. Thus requiring immediate suspension of the respondent certification. The respondent's suspension is effective immediately upon receipt of this order, either the respondent or the head of the respondent's law enforcement agency, whichever is earlier. The respondent is hereby directed to surrender, and the respondent's agency is directed to collect without delay any agency-issued credentials and equipment that promote or support the performance of functions associated with the service as a law enforcement officer, including but not limited to any uniform, badge, firearm, assigned cruiser, and use of force instruments such as tasers. Pursuant to Mass General Law, suspension order the Commission issued pursuant to Section 9A shall continue in effect until issuance of a final decision of the Commission or until revoked. Okay, and then they receive a copy of their rights. They can request a hearing. Whether they will or not, I don't know. My understanding of the law is because they've been charged, they've been indicted with particularly felonies, they cannot work as police officers in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts until that is resolved. So, in my non-lawyer opinion, that having a hearing before the Post Commission would be just a waste of everybody's time, including theirs, and cost them a lot of legal fees just to have nothing happen at this stage. They have to go through whatever's going on with the courts. They've been indicted, so they're going to be charged with these crimes, or they have been charged. I don't know if they've been arraigned. I'm going to probably watch I believe this will be in Worcester Superior, so I'll be watching the docket to see when they come up. It's possible I'll miss it, but anything that shows up on the docket, I will try to catch. And if I miss it, I'll get it from the mainstream press, because somebody will get it, even if I'm not paying attention. All right, so I'm just going to zip through and try to slowly go through these, because I put all 4 of them up. And I want to get to Jennifer's to see. I didn't study these. I did not do my homework completely. I got this thing up here. All right, it doesn't give. All right, the Post Commission doesn't give any particulars about their indictments, because it's just the fact that they had been indicted. They're just suspended until further notice. That's a question. I think it's Worcester. I think it'll be Worcester Superior. They were indicted in Middlesex, but I think that was, they wanted to get out of Worcester County. I don't think it was because the case is going to be heard in Middlesex, but where they are indicted in Middlesex, it may be tried in Middlesex. So I got to watch both of them. Should be interesting. All right, I'm going to read this, and I'm going to try not to comment, because I have to, never mind. I don't want to comment. I'm just going to show the State Police Association's response to all of this. And you're going to have to make up your own mind what you think about it. All right? This is from basically, I'm going to call it, is it the union? I don't know. The association, State Police Association. I don't know. I'm going to read this to you. The State Police Association of Massachusetts continues to mourn the tragic loss of Trooper Enrique Delgado Garcia, and our thoughts remain with his family, friends, and colleagues during this incredibly difficult time. While we understand the independent investigative process led by Special Prosecutor David Mayer, it is important to emphasize that the veteran training staff indicted today are entitled to the same presumption of innocence and due process guaranteed to every citizen. The association stands firmly behind its members and intends to vigorously defend them against these charges as we continue to work collaboratively with the department to strengthen and enhance training standards, ensuring troopers are fully prepared to meet the complex and demanding realities of the job. Signed, the State Police Association of Massachusetts. So I'm going to leave that there. So this disturbing case has not come to an end. It has come to a place where I am pleased. I think the public is much more pleased and has a little bit more faith in the system that somebody took this seriously, and we didn't get the usual lip service and protection of police officers just because or not. This is not. I mean, if they threw it under the rug, this would not be protection of police officers. It would be protection of a corrupt system, because we have a trooper that has died as a result at the hands of other troopers, and this is not normal. This is not. You can't. But protecting the system is the wrong thing to do, and it just adds more corruption to the whole thing. And the only way to deal with this was the way that the Attorney General did, and I think that's really outstanding what she did. And Attorney Generals, when we see the court system and we see, the law enforcement involvement in the court system, law enforcement is often given total trust that whatever law enforcement wants, law enforcement gets. Whatever they say, you don't have it. Sometimes you just don't have a chance. If you're an honest person, between the cop's always going to be believed over the public. It doesn't matter, and it just doesn't matter. If it's just your word against theirs, guess whose word's going to be taken? It's not yours. It's not yours. So, and often when you see attorneys general, or you see anything going on, it's often protecting the system, and it's really hard. I think it's hard for them to go against law enforcement, because the system depends on law enforcement, the trust of law enforcement, to keep the system operating. The criminal justice system screeches to a halt, or is nearly impossible to trust if any element is untrustworthy. So when police are corrupt and lying, then there's nothing. It just doesn't work anymore. And we've been seeing that for the last few years, with particularly the Massachusetts State Police. And I think the courts, once things get into the court where the police are defendants, then things turn out a lot better for the public, because you can't look away. You just can't look away. And in this situation, I think I really commend our State Attorney General, Andrea Campbell, for the way she went about this investigation, and that the indictments have been made, and by all appearances, someone's going to be held accountable. And it doesn't seem wishy-washy to me. It seems like the right people are being held accountable, the people that were on the ground directly involved with this. If there's other leadership at the state police or the State Police Academy who are involved with any type of cover-up, either at the beginning or still, they will testify to it. I would hope that if there's more people involved with this, then hopefully these troopers their careers are over, and all of them have the potential of going to prison. I think Sergeant Penton has a real chance. I don't see any way out of Sergeant Penton going to jail, assuming there's convictions. But she is charged with perjury on top of all the other charges. So I think that she's going to go to jail. So, and all of them are caught between a rock and a hard place. Do they fight? Which way do they fight? Do they support the state police? Do they support the academy? Do they support themselves? Do they defend themselves with everything they've got? And they're going to, it sounds like the State Police Association are providing them with attorneys. I'm not an attorney, so, as my gears turn, and I'm thinking, what's in the best interest of these troopers? Do they want the State Police Association defending them? This is a pretty expensive undertaking for these charges. It's pricey, but are they defending themselves, or are they defending the academy, who's the state police association attorneys going to defend? Are they going to put up a defense that goes against the academy? So if there's a more higher leadership who required them or expected them to either act in the way they did that day, or is this something that is routine at the academy, or what is going to be brought up? I think I don't know. It's something for them to consider, I guess. Should they hire additional attorneys outside of the State Police Association? Because who's the association defending? I don't know. It's tough, but probably not. I mean, it's their. I believe it's the association is that the union? I'm not. I think it is. I don't know if they're providing attorneys for them. Probably, but those attorneys defend them completely if they want to try to indict further troopers, leadership at the State Police Academy or in the state police as a whole. Is there a culture that they were working in that's not their fault entirely? I think Sergeant Penton is screwed anyway because she lied to I believe she lied to the grand jury, so that's where the perjury charge came from. Unfortunately, I thought that was in the indictments, but it was not. That I have. There's another one. There's got to be another one somewhere that she was charged with perjury. Or I missed it. Maybe I was in the indictment and I didn't see it. But she was charged with perjury as well. So that finishes her off. But what can we say? I want to talk a little bit about Sergeant Penton. I'm not going to pull up any more documents on this case, but I'm going to credit the Boston Herald, and I believe Howie Carr wrote the article. I could be wrong, but anyway, the Boston Herald brought us all up on the fact that Sergeant Penton has a history. She's a former Boston police officer. And, well, whether she's a trooper or a Boston police officer, I'm going to work backwards in time. No, I'm going to start with she's a Boston police officer. Several years ago, there was a TV show called Boston Finest. And Sergeant Penton starred on that show at least once, maybe more than once. And where it's just like Cops and Live PD and all that. It's one of those. It's just like those. But Boston Finest was a TV show. I do not remember watching that ever. I've never been really intrigued by cop shows like that. The live stuff. It just makes people look. It takes advantage of basic citizens who are the subject of police calls, and it puts them in a very bad light. And even though they don't deserve to be there, and when they are involved with the police, it may be the worst moment of their lives. And it certainly doesn't help if they have a case. And this is just the embarrassment. And it's just not fair what some of the people get laughed at. And there's actually, Live PD has Live PD bingo. And people actually sit in their living room playing bingo and making fun of the people that are the subject of these police calls. And I can't, it makes me ill, sick to my stomach to watch some of those Live PD type shows, including Cops. And Cops was not live. They did screen out a lot of cases. I've spoken to cops who were part of that, and their episodes never got shown because they were pretty bad. The cops' behavior was bad. They try to make cops look great. They won't show times where cops don't look great. They'll only show where they can make the cop look good and the offender or the victim of a crime look bad. They try to make the most ridiculous calls where the victim or offender is looking at their worst day, and that's on purpose. So I hate those shows. But anyway, I'm saying too much. But Boston Finest was a show that showed Boston police in action. And she shared the spotlight with none other than Brian Albert of the Boston PD, former Boston PD. So we put Jennifer Penton in the same spotlight with Brian Albert. Now, who's Brian Albert? Some of you that watch my channel might not know who Brian Albert is. He's a retired Boston police officer. He lives in the town of Canton. If you followed the Karen Reed trial, you don't have to get me my explanation. But if you haven't, I know a lot of people, I run into people all the time that just never followed the Karen Reed trial and they have absolutely no idea some of the details. I was obsessed. I've watched it all day long through 2 years of trials. But Brian Albert is a household name when it comes to the Karen Reed trial, and he's still a household name because everybody's suing each other now. So it's not over. But she shared the spotlight with Brian Albert. Brian Albert's house is where the murder of John O'Keefe occurred, on the front lawn of Brian Albert's house. So that is the connection between Jennifer Penton of the Massachusetts State Police, now Massachusetts State Police. But she worked with Brian Albert back in the day. So the Boston police culture of those two is probably what brought Jennifer Penton to her difficulties today. And I want to give you some more information of Jennifer Penton. You may or may not have heard about a recent case in Woburn where 2 years ago, a Massachusetts State Police trooper was involved in a motor vehicle accident right in Woburn. And I believe that's where he lived, or he was there. And he was involved in a fatal car accident. The other operator, the vehicle that he struck, the operator died. Jennifer Penton was on the scene. She was investigating that case, probably because it involved a state trooper. And he got cited. He ended up with a misdemeanor traffic ticket. A traffic ticket. I can't remember what the charges were. Marked lanes violation or something like that. I don't remember. I didn't pull that up because that isn't the primary case on my show here. It's just, this is Jennifer Penton. She can't stay out of trouble. Recently, there's another murder case going on. I believe it's going on in Lowell. Could be Woburn again, but I think it's Lowell. Or at least Lowell Superior, maybe. I don't know. I'm only partially paying attention. But what came out of that case was the defense attorneys are bringing up Brady information against this trooper. I think his name is Quigley. And he, at the time, you'd think, oh, that's too bad. Well, let me tell you where this trooper worked, who was involved in this motor vehicle accident. He worked for Middlesex County DA Marion Ryan in Woburn. And but Sergeant Penton investigated this accident. And because it involved a fatality, they took his blood for toxicology screening. That is a requirement. If you get into a car accident and there's a fatality, all the drivers get their blood drawn. That is the law. You can't decline that, like you can a breathalyzer. It's a blood draw. I don't know everything they test for, but they test for alcohol, that's for sure. And yep. And that toxicology report kind of got pushed under the rug. Until we have this murder trial going on, in which I think it's Quigley. I want to say that trooper's name was Quigley. I apologize if I got the wrong name. But he was the trooper that investigated the murder. He was involved with this case. So the defense attorney discovered this car accident in which the trooper was involved in fatality and decided to investigate. Well, what he found out is that the toxicology report got buried. The toxicology report came back with the trooper was shit-faced. He was intoxicated at the time of this fatal accident, and he should have been charged with motor vehicle homicide. Motor vehicle manslaughter, something. But operating while intoxicated, he should have been in jail for this motor vehicle accident. But Sergeant Jennifer Penton to the rescue. We're going to make that toxicology report get buried, and we're not going to discuss it. And obviously, his blood alcohol was 0.11 or 1.1, what we would normally call 110. But it's 0.08 is the limit, and 111 is drunk. Even if you if you drank alcohol and had your blood tested, you would say, yeah, I'm drunk. You would know this. When you're not passed out drunk, but you're drunk. You know you shouldn't be driving when your alcohol is at that level. And so everybody around that accident should have been wondering what's going on. And but because he was a trooper, we got to take care of our own, Sergeant Penton took it upon herself to bury the toxicology report. Now we go back to his employer, Marion Ryan, Middlesex County District Attorney. And this kind of makes it interesting that it was her grand jury that brought down Jennifer Penton. Interesting. Everything just kind of ties in. You just never know what's going to happen. But this news just broke within the last month that this happened. And once the indictments came down regarding Enrique Delgado Garcia against Jennifer Penton, we brought the two together again. And so Jennifer Penton is in the hot seat for two cases at the same time because she covered up. She perjured herself during the investigation of Enrique's death. And she also conducted pretty gross misconduct by covering up a drunk driving fatal accident against another trooper who should be in prison. And he may still go to prison because he's just been charged. I think he's just been charged with the fatal accident. He's lost his job. He's also suspended. I think he's also suspended by post. I haven't looked that one up. But the thing with Middlesex County DA, Marion Ryan, is she claims she didn't know. The accident happened in Woburn, the seat of the county DA. That's where she goes to work every day, I believe. She works out of Woburn. He works in Woburn. And the accident happened in Woburn. Everything's in Woburn. And he just recovered from the accident and went to work the next day like nothing happened. And then he was, of course, which always happens in the state police and even some local police officers, which we won't mention today. There will be a video on that, though. That promoted to sergeant. He was promoted to sergeant after killing somebody drunk. That's how it works. That's how state police operate. That's the culture of state police. So, and everybody involved with that accident knows that they knew he was drunk then, and they still know, but they saw him. They were there, and they know that they covered it up. They know that they never, even though they did the toxicology report, they didn't take any action that was conscious. That wasn't an accident, that they didn't arrest him. They didn't charge him with motor vehicle homicide. I'm just like, can I get sicker? Can the public just give up? And we have good news that there's been an indictment regarding Enrique, but this just adds to, like, how corrupt can one trooper be? I mean, Sergeant Penton has just stepped in it and stepped in it and stepped in it. I can't imagine that she won't be indicted. she might be indicted again. I don't know if they indict people for what she did regarding the fatal accident or what. Um, I'm sure there's more investigations going with that. But and then the interesting thing here is district attorneys. What did she know? When did she know it? When did Marion Ryan know that this trooper was involved in a fatal accident while intoxicated and it was covered up? I'm having trouble believing that she didn't know before now, before the press got a hold of it, before this attorney, defense attorney in an unrelated case, brought up, they were trying to discredit, of course, a witness. And it worked. It worked. It worked, and this defense attorney should get a medal, get an award from whoever gives them, and for defending his client to this point, to, of course, murder charge. I think it's a murder case. And he, with the Brady Act, any disparaging information regarding police witnesses is required to be released to the defendant. And of course, this had not been. The defense attorney found this, and it created a whole new set of circumstances for the state police and the Middlesex County DA. And we just went through the Karen Reed trial. Again, as much, this has nothing to do with directly involved with the Karen Reed trial. But when you think about misconduct by district attorneys, I mean, all you can do is go, of course, another district attorney who's corrupt. And we look at who's nicknamed Meatball Morrissey from Norfolk County, the Norfolk County DA, and his involvement with just persecuting Karen Reed twice, and the problems down there, and the obvious corruption within the Norfolk County DA's office, and the troopers in his office, half the problem troopers in the Karen Reed case, and the horrific testimony that they gave, it makes you want to, at first it's like, okay, well, gee, I'm sitting here in Middlesex County thinking, I don't agree with everything Marion Ryan has said and done. I don't. But I never would have thought that this level of corruption would happen. I would never, when Morrissey was going through what he was going through, and I think most people are grateful that their DA wouldn't do this kind of stuff. Now we're here. I think it's an election year, folks. She is up for election. It is, I don't have to think it is an election year for the DAs. And Marion Ryan has somebody running against her. And I forgot his name. Wait, I got it. He was coming up. Let's see. Where? Oh, David Solet, Solet, is running against Marion Ryan this coming election, November. And I don't know if it's a primary challenge or if he's running on a Republican ticket. I haven't looked that up. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not a primary challenge. That would be probably the only way to get her out anyway, would be a primary challenge. But David Solet is, he worked for her. He was, be interesting. He's probably going to be silent regarding this trooper gate problem, but he was a prosecutor in her office, and he resigned last fall in order to run against her. He's really being very cordial and nice and respectful to District Attorney Ryan right now. I don't know if that's going to stay that way or if it's going to get dirty. But he's made some statements. I can't quote. I don't have them in front of me, so I'm not going to try to quote. I'm going to mangle it. But he left in order to and and decided to run because he wanted to improve some things in the DA's office. It didn't seem mean-spirited. It didn't seem like he was on the attack. But once we get closer to the election, or the primary, when is the primary? I have to look this up. I can't, when, the primary is probably in September. And I got the dates. I know my phone's going to light up any minute because I don't know when the state primary is. I want to say, I think it's usually in September, and then we have the election in November. But I think this only helps him because I don't think Marion Ryan can say anything that would help her regarding this trooper, because the trooper was working for her and was working for her until recently. Even got promoted in the state police. She doesn't promote him, but she would, of course, write recommendations, I'm sure, to the Massachusetts State Police regarding his work and regarding his trustworthiness and all that kind of stuff to the state police, who would then promote him based on his regular, whatever the requirements are to get promoted in the state police. But I think the public has a right to question when Marion Ryan knew that this trooper, when did she find out? When did she know? If she knew, all of that regarding the cover-up of his drunk driving, and that someone died. Someone was killed. Another death by a state trooper, and that was covered up because he was drunk, and he would have expected to go to prison. You go to jail. When you kill somebody when you're drunk, you're going to jail. You're not going to get probation. And, oh, you got to go to drunk school. Okay. You lose your license for 45 days. No, that's not how that works. No. Nope. I don't know where he is now. I can maybe do another video on him and this whole story. And, of course, as things move forward and that story expands, I may do a video regarding the DA race. Could be interesting. Or whether or not Marion Ryan might decide that this is a good time to retire. Because this case is going to be blown up and blown up and blown up, and people are going to ask questions every time she goes someplace. So that's my prediction. So, okay, so I wanted to bring everybody up to speed on the Enrique Delgado Garcia case and put it all in one bow, and I missed the indictment on Jennifer Penton's perjury, so I'll catch that later. I will find it. It's out there. Unless I read it and I didn't see it, I don't know. But she's charged with perjury on top of the cases, the charges on the other troopers. So this will be more nasty cases involving the state police. And this is a lot more serious. All of these cases are a lot more serious than the CDL licensing scandal or the overtime scandal. They're killing people now. Oh, well, they probably always have. We just, people have died. People have died under the hands of police officers. That happens, unfortunately, all the time. But now these cases of improper misconduct by state police is really coming. It's getting worse. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. And covering up what the state police do just can't be done. And we shouldn't have this in any police department. But the Massachusetts State Police are a laughingstock across the country. And I don't think anybody trusts any of them. I'm certain there's a couple that are trustworthy, that got into the state police for the right reasons, and they still have ethics. But I think it is hard when you're working in a corrupt system such as the Massachusetts State Police. And these cases going on right now really just add to an already distrusting public. So that's my video for today. That's all I'm going to say about this, I think. So I want to thank everybody for following along and getting this update, whether you're watched live or if you're watching on the replay, which, because I'm doing this in the morning, most of you will catch it on the replay. So, okay, well, thank you for your attention, and if you want to continue to watch my videos, don't forget to like this one. I've got my banner running across the bottom screen there, and do subscribe, and you'll be able to catch more of what I have to say. So thank you so much, and I will catch you on the next video. Have a good day.